breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. We're going to be chatting it up with him about what we've all seen here in the last few weeks in baseball. Why this is probably not the time to be jumping in on the futures market with how murky all these teams are and how equal all these teams are playing right now with not a lot of movement in the playoff picture. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to break down some games for this Labor Day Monday as well, and hopefully you all are having a very good holiday out there. We'll throw that out there as well. And in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, the name does not matter, so as per usual, please send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. Everything is powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever they want. That 100% of gambling transactions do get approved. And when you go to edgeboost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That's going to get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Sunday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Remarkably, the Cincinnati Reds still have not been swept this year, and they are also your best under team in all baseball, though things did get a little bit overwhelming on Sunday. 7-4, they take down the St. Louis Cardinals, now 52 over 79 unders and 6 pushes for the Reds as Andre 3000 Palante, well, feels like he's giving up 3,000 runs. 5 runs, only 2 of which were earned, but still 5 runs allowed in 5 innings, so 4 straight starts with 4+ allowed by him. And then Grayson Garicifo gives up a run in 1 2/3 innings. Andre Granillo gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings as he did allow a home run, and same with Palante. As for the Cincinnati Reds going deep, Austin Desai's kid 12th home run season, and you had Matt McClain get his 13th home run season. Brady Singer was roughed up early but settled down, giving up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings. Sam Moll does give up a home run in 2/3 of an inning of work as it was home run number 1 of the season, and if I'm not mistaken, the career of Jimmy Crooks. So congratulations to little Jimmy for getting his first career home run. He's not so little, by the way. Tony Santana and Emilio Pagan both give you a scoreless setting, both with 3 strikeouts in their scoreless setting, and Nick Martinez in out of the bullpen scoreless as well. For the Slam Diego Padres, well, they did get slammed by the Minnesota Twins, this by a count of 7-2, as for San Diego, just not a lot of offense doing for them this season. They've been one of your better under teams, so this was a game that did get a little bit overwhelming with David Morgan being the opener/starter, 2 scoreless innings. Kyle Hart was supposed to be the bulk guy. He gave up 3 runs and got 4 outs, including a home run surrender to Byron Buxton, 29th home run season. From there, Wandy Peralta gives up 3 runs in an inning. Yuki Matsui, 2 innings. He allows 1 run. Jeremiah Estrada, pair of outs out the bullpen, scoreless. Mason Miller, a scoreless inning. And for the Padres, they had their opportunities, 3 of 14 with men in scoring position, as you had Joe Ryan once again be very dominant. 0 runs allowed in 7 innings. Michael Tonkin from there gives up 2 runs in 2 innings, but by then that game had been salted away. For the Miami Marlins, they get the job done against the New York Metropolitans. This by a count of 5-1, as for the Marlins, you did have Augustin Ramirez go deep off of Kodai Senga, 19th home run season, as for Senga, it was more like Jenga, giving up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Brandon Waddell, from there, he comes in for 4 1/3 innings scoreless, so yay verily on that front end. For Miami, Sandy Alcantara might be starting to put it together. Gave up 1 run over the course of 7 innings. He is now allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts, so that's a good sign. And Calvin Fauché and Freddie Tarnok were both able to give you a scoreless inning to be able to salt that one away. For the Boston Red Sox, they do avoid the sweep at the hands of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Pirates, your second best under team in all of baseball, 76 unders and 5 pushes, and they played another under here, 5-2. The Red Sox do get the job done. As for the Red Sox, Jaron Duran, the big hit in this game, 3-run homer off of Mitch Keller, 14th home run season. Keller gives up 4 unearned runs in 5 innings as he was hurt by a Nick Gonzalez throwing error that should have gotten him out of an inning. From there, Colin Holderman, he does not live up to his name. He gives up a run in an inning. Troy Moreta, you don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez, both give you a scoreless inning, and Alexander Canario does go deep off of Justin Slayton, 5th home run season after Lucas Giolito, another good start. Did walk 5, but gave up 1 run in 6 innings. Slayton from there gives up a home run in an inning. Garrett Woodlock, Aroldis Chapman, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning. And for the Milwaukee Brewers and the Blue Jays, they were able to get you the over in the 3rd inning in this game, as the Blue Jays are your top over team in all of baseball, 77 overs, 54 unders, and 6 pushes. And for the Jays, they take it to the Brewers to avoid the sweep, 8-4 the final, as Brandon Woodruff, 8 runs, 5 which were earned, give it up in 4 1/3 innings with no home runs. Lots of small ball in this one. Rob Zanoski, a scoreless inning. Tobias Myers, 2 2/3 innings scoreless, and the Brewers did have a pair of bombs of their own. Bryce Terang, his 16th home run season, and William Contreras, his 17th. Those both come off of Mad Max Fury Road Scherzer, who gives up 4 runs in 4 innings, including those 2 bombs. But from there, the bullpen was solid. Louis Varland, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Tommy Nance, Anthony Dominguez, Jeff Hoffman led a scoreless inning, and Brandon Little comes up big. He was able to get in out of the bullpen scoreless. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, they handed to the Washington Nationals by a count of 7-4, as the Nationals, they have now clinched a losing season. They're up to 83 losses. They added with their previous loss, but now they really clinch it as Brandon Lau got loud. He got a grand slam off of Brad Lord, his 28th home run season, as Brad Lord said, "Oh Lord," to giving up 7 runs in 3 innings. From there, the bullpen was actually good. PJ Poulin, 2 scoreless innings. You had from there Sinkuzi, Ogasara, Orlando Rebalta, Jose Ferrer, Clayton Beater, all led to scoreless inning, but gave up 7 runs in the first 3 innings. That's hard to come back from. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, you had Ian Seymour give a good start. He does give up 4 total runs, but you had 3 of them be unearned. He was hurt by a pair of errors out there in the field, punched out 8, so 1 earned run, give it up over the course of 5 innings. From there, Edwin Uceta, 2 scoreless innings. Mason Montgomery, Pete Fairbanks, they're both able to supply a scoreless inning, and being able to supply a win was the Seattle Mariners, 4-2. They take it to the Cleveland Guardians, as for the Guardians, just not a lot doing on offense. For Seattle, Bryce Miller gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings, did allow a home run along the way, as being able to belt out home run number 11 of the season was Davis Schneemann. And for Tanner Bybee, he does give up 4 runs in 6 1/3 innings, including a home run to Randy Arozarena, his 26th home run season. And for the Mariners, bullpen was rock solid. Gabe Spire, Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, all led to scoreless inning. And for the Guardians, you had Matthew Festa have a fiesta with a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Kobe Allard, he was able to give you 2 scoreless innings as well. Speaking of scoreless innings, you got a ton of them from the LA Angels as they take down the Houston Astros by a count of 3-0. It's been a little bit of struggle here for the Astros over the last few weeks, as for the Angels, a very good start here from Jose Soriano. 1 hit allowed in 7 scoreless innings. From there, Luis Garcia and Kenley Jansen both led a scoreless inning. You had Oswaldo Peraza be the real difference in this one. 4th home run on the campaign. That comes off of Mr. Hunter Brown, who gives up that solo home run in 6 innings. He was pretty solid. Lance McKellis Jr. comes out of the bullpen. He gives up 2 runs in 2 innings. That's what he's been doing all season long. And AJ Bluba comes out of the bullpen for a scoreless inning as well, but nothing doing for the Houston Astros at the plate. Enough doing for the LA Dodgers at the plate, though. They win by kind of 5-4 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. As for the Saints, Brandon Pfaadt battled his way through 4 1/3 innings, but didn't go as planned, giving up 4 runs, all of which were earned. From there, 2 2/3 innings scoreless from Braden Garcia in long relief, but did have John Curtis with 2 S's give up a solo home run in the 9th inning. That turned out to be the difference. Will Smith gets jiggy with it, 17th home run season, as Yoshinobu Yamamoto, really good start for the Dodgers. 1 run allowed in 7 innings, punched out 10, and if you had the under in this game, you're probably not so happy with Tanner Scott, who gave up 3 runs in an inning, but Blake Trine, a scoreless inning thing for the Dodgers to be able to get to the window. The Yankees had won 7 straight games, but they get cooled off by the White Sox on Sunday, 3-2 the finals. Martin Perez has actually been really good for the White Sox, gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. He does allow a home run in this one, as going deep for the Yankees, Aaron Judge, jury, and executioner, 43rd home run on the campaign, but from there, Wolkman Gonzalez, Cam Boucher combined for a scoreless inning, and Mike Vasil, Steven Wilson are both able to end a scoreless inning. And for the New York Yankees, Luis Eel gives up 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. He does allow a home run to one Mr. Colson Montgomery, his 15th home run season. Then off of Tim Hill, Lennon Sosa, team leading 18th home run season, as Hill gives up that home run in his inning work, and Fernando Cruz was able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless for the Walker Texas Rangers. They're trying to stay competitive out there in that playoff race. 9-6, they take down the A's, and they win that series. As for Jacob deGrom, not necessarily a long start, but a solid one. 5 scoreless innings. From there, Luis Carvello, he goes for 2 scoreless innings. The pride of Hortonville, Wisconsin, Caleb Belsley, had a little bit of a rough one. 4 runs allowed in a third of an inning, but Sean Armstrong, he picked him up, giving up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Phil Matone gives up a run in an inning, and for the Rangers, pair of bombs off of JT Ginn and Juice. Jock Peterson, 8th home run season, and Josh Young, his 13th home run season for Ginn. He gives up 5 runs over the course of 6 innings. Bullpen wasn't much better. Tyler Ferguson gives up a run in an inning. You had Elvis Alvarado give up 2 runs in a third of an inning, and Edernil Nunez, he comes in for 1 2/3 innings. He allows a run along the way, and for the San Francisco Giants, they completely lambaste the Baltimore Orioles. 13-2 the final is. For Baltimore, this is not what they had planned for Tomoyuki Sugano. 7 runs allowed in 3 1/3 innings, including a home run. Cade Stout from there, 5 outs out the bullpen Squirrels, but Corbin Martin, 3 unearned runs given up in his 2/3 of an inning. He was hurt by a trio of errors out there in the field. Ynier Cano, don't you know, he gave you 4 outside the bullpen Squirrels, and Alex Jackson, the backup catcher, was able to come in for an inning. He did give up 3 runs along the way, and for the San Francisco Giants, Justin Verlander, back-to-back wins, 10 punch-outs, 5 scoreless innings out of him. From there, Joey Lucchesi, a scoreless inning. Spencer Bivens gives up 2 runs over the course of 3 innings, and did have Rafael Devers go deep in the first inning. Home run number 28 of the campaign. For the Chicago Cubs, they get walked off by the Colorado Rockies. This by a count of 6-5, as for the Cubs, Matthew Boyd, 4 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. From there, Porter Hoge was able to come in for an inning, gave up a run. Caleb Thielbar, a scoreless inning, but Daniel Palencia allows the winning run in the 9th inning. Mickey Moniak, an extra base hit, ends it as Ian Happ said hep hooray to getting his 18th home run season off of Luis Peralta after Tanner Gordon. Just 2 runs allowed in 6 innings, punch out 9. Really good start there. Jay Nill, Juan Mejia both gave you a scoreless inning. Peralta gives up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning to allow the Cubs to get back in it, and Anel Shavili was able to give you an out of the bullpen scoreless as well. And speaking of scoreless innings, many had by the Detroit Tigers, as they were able to hold down the Kansas City Royals this by a count of 5-0, as Tariq Skubal continues to do Tariq Skubal things. As for the Detroit Tigers, they were able to come up with a 4 spot in the 5th inning to be able to power him to victory, as Skubal only 4 strikeouts, but 7 scoreless innings. Kyle Finnegan, Rafael Montero both give you a scoreless inning, and for the Detroit Tigers, they do go 3 of 10 with men in scoring position, as they get to Michael Wacha, and we get the dying Pac-Man voice, Michael Waka 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 Waka. He gave up 4 runs over the course of 4 2/3 innings. Bullpen from there was solid. Sammy Long gives up an unearned run in his inning work. Jonathan Bolin, Taylor Clark, both on the scoreless inning, and Daniel Lynch, he was able to give you out of the bullpen 4 out scoreless. And on Sunday Night Baseball, the Atlanta Braves find a way to persevere and get the job done 3-1 against the Philadelphia Phillies. Warm form of offense for the Phillies. Brandon Marsh, 8th home run of the season off of Herson Waldrop. Another great start out of him. Did walk 4, but gives up that home run in 5 2/3 innings. 9 strikeouts. From there, John Brebbia, Tyler Kinley, Rossi Iglesias, a scoreless inning. The Dodd father, Dylan Dodd, and out of the bullpen. And Jesus Luzardo, really good start. 2 hits allowed in 6 2/3 innings scoreless. From there, David Robertson was able to give you an out of the bullpen scoreless. Ryan Kerkering gives up a run without getting a single out. Tanner Banks, a scoreless inning, and then Jose Alvarado gives up 2 runs in the 9th inning off of a home run to Brooks Baldwin, who's right now up for that Rookie of the Year award, his 15th home run of the campaign. If you're taking a look trend-wise at what we're getting in baseball right now, has been very much an underwhelming season thus far, but if you look at the last 30 days in baseball, it has been a little bit of a reversal there, as over the last 30 days, we have noticed that the favorites have been hitting right around that mark for the season of about 57%. They're currently at 57.2%, 231 and 173 on the money line, while the over rate, that's close to 54%, 209 overs to 179 unders. Now, if you look at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, been a little bit more calm on the scoring front, 48 overs to 45 unders. Meanwhile, favorites hitting at about 58% over the last 7 days, 55 and 40 on the money line, and overall for the season, favorites hitting at just under 57%, 1,156 and 874 on the money line. Meanwhile, the over rate is at 48.7%. 955 overs to 1,004 under. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend William Boor of Action Network to take a look at the slate for Monday and take a look at these wild playoff races right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got William Boor aboard. He does a tremendous job over at Action Network, taking a look at a wide variety of things. He does a great job on the baseball front. Football is back in our lives, and I know he does a great job, especially on the college football front of things as well. And pretty much if it's bettable out there in North America, they do a great job over at Action Network being able to take a look at it all. For William, you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at the letter W, and then his last name, Boor, B-O-O-R. And William, it's always great to get you aboard. Thank you so much.
Of course, Greg. Always happy to hop on, talk baseball, and talk betting with you.
Absolutely. And William, now we have reached the month of September. This is coming out on Labor Day. And just how do you take a look at this final month of the regular season? Because it just feels like it's one of those years, because you've joined me a lot on this podcast, and it's always very much appreciated when you join me on this podcast. But we keep on talking about how open it is with regards to this postseason race. And would you be sort of thinking what I'm thinking right now, that you just take a look at the month of September? As of right now, you don't take a lot of looks on futures, and you just start to play the team that maybe gets hot in that last week or two in the month of September going into October?
Yeah, I'm with you. As far as future, unless something drastically changes or you feel you've got a huge edge right now, your future should probably be locked in, at least for the regular season. Maybe once we see a bracket, if you want to take someone to win the NL, AL, or the World Series, that's one thing. But I'm not going to be placing a future on a team on, September 4th or anything like that. This is really interesting because we've got some really good division races that are still going to be enticing for the final couple months. The wild card races are going to be good. I feel like the last time we talked, these races were open, and then we have a lot of teams that have over their past 10 been 5-5, 6-4, 4-6, like just all hovering there, where you're gaining or losing a game or just a half game over the past 2 weeks, and no one's really taking command of any of these really close races.
Yep, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because it just feels like there's a lot of just equality right now in Major League Baseball. Teams aren't necessarily going on runs, but they're not necessarily going on super duper slumps. Now, we did see the New York Mets in August have that big giant slide. They've been able to show them for that for just a little bit, but how do you take a look at things right now with teams really not being streaky? And you mentioned it, a lot of 6-4 in their last 10 games, a lot of 4-6 in their last 10, where these teams aren't really hot or cold right now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like the NL West race is really intriguing with the Dodgers only a game and a half up on the Padres. Both those teams 5-5 in their past 10. Like, you just have, if you want to go to the Phillies and the Mets, like they're both 6-4 in their past 10. A lot of teams are just hovering, which I guess is fine if you're the team in the front of those races. But at some point, the teams that are the Royals, 3-back wildcard spot, 5-5 in the past 10. Same with the Mariners, 5-5, the Astros 6-4 for that AL West race. Eventually, some team's going to have to go out and win some of these races. So who's going to go 7-3, 8-2, and just have like a really hot stretch where they sweep a team and then take 2 of 3 from the next team? We'll see who does that, but the team that does that in these races is these margins are small, so it's not going to take much.
Yep, absolutely. And I do think that it's going to be a lot of fun to take a look at, and that makes having the game-to-game betting circumstances just mean a little bit more. As joining me on the show, we do have William Boor, does such great work over at Action Network, joining me here, and I do think that this is going to be a relatively rock-solid game, because we talk about teams that are hot and cold. The Tigers have been a little bit cold ever since the All-Star break. The Mets, they were on that almighty slide, and now we've got a rather pick'em game between the Mets and the Detroit Tigers. Charlie Morton going for the Tigers, Sean Manaea going for the Mets. Pair of guys have been solid in terms of getting strikeouts. Pair of guys have been aligned quite a bit the deep ball. Pair of guys with relatively high ERAs and a total of 8.5. How do you take a look at this one? Because it feels like the theme that we've been talking about thus far is a lot of equal teams and a lot of equality. And here we go, Exhibit A.
Yeah, this is Exhibit like A, B, and C. These teams are the perfect blah to fit everything we've talked about so far, where you're just hovering and everything's fine. I guess I lean toward the Tigers here. That's something about it being at home and just not liking what I've seen of the Mets. Not only, yes, I've been talking a lot about, past 10 and they're 500 there, maybe 6-4. But if you took a look at the Mets in August as a whole, so if we go past 30 or something, it's not a pretty picture. There's still obviously a lot of talent on that team. It's a good roster as a whole, but like game to game basis, we're just looking at the Tigers. I just kind of trust them more over the past, month or two.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And with Charlie Morton, if you look ever since, I would say late April, early May, he's been a much better picture than what the season numbers would bear out as well. So that's something that I do take a look at. And there are a pair of teams here that are trying to play spoiler in the National League and the American League. And for the Rangers, it might not even be spoiler. Even though they're without Nathan Eovaldi and company, they've still been able to keep themselves in this race. They've got Patrick Corbin, though, going on Monday, and he has not been great on the road against Ryan Nelson, who's actually been very serviceable for the years on the Diamondbacks. But Diamondbacks are right now right around about minus 150, total of 9.5. And I like the way that the Diamondbacks are playing, but this feels a little bit lofty on a D-backs team that, let's call it what it is. They did trade away a lot of pieces at the deadline.
These are two teams, we've talked about all the teams like in the race, kind of playing whatever. These are two teams that past 10, we've got 8-2, 7-3. Like these teams are going for it.
I just went to the World Series 2 years ago.
Yeah, like these teams are playing like teams fighting for postseason spots. And I guess Texas sort of, 3-back a wild card race. They could claim it. Arizona 5-back. I guess if you go 7-3 over your next 10 again in theory, but that seems kind of tough. Yeah, both these teams are interesting. I do think the price is a little heavy on the Diamondbacks, like you said. However, I don't know if I necessarily want to fade them right now either because of the way they're playing. I'm not sure if I, trust Nelson as much. This might be a spot where you look at the total and then I'd probably lean over given Arizona in the ballpark.
And with the Texas Rangers, somehow, some way, they're now with Corey Seager on the injured list. Evan Carter, it looks like, is out for the year. Marcus Semien is on the injured list. They've been able to make this run, so they have been a very fascinating team, to say the least. And this one I think is fascinating as well because the Atlanta Braves have actually been a little bit more respectable over the last few weeks. But that said, they're coming off of Sunday Night Baseball. They have to travel for a day game out there in Chicago on Monday with Spencer Strider looking terrible recently, going against Colin Ray. Right now, the Cubs are about a minus 120 on the money line. This just feels like a really bad spot for the Atlanta Braves, and really both the Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies, with them playing on Sunday Night Baseball, and both of them having to play day games immediately on Monday.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a tough spot. The spot definitely favors the Cubs just because of the travel. The issue is Ray gave up 7 runs, 6 earned in his last start. Strider threw well in his last start, but the 2 before that, he gave up 8 and 7. So neither of those are obviously what you want. I think based on that last start and based on, lifetime reputation, Strider probably gets the slight edge when you're just looking at these 2 starting pitchers. The spot for Atlanta as a whole is really tough. I think because of the spot, I kind of lean Chicago at home in this game.
Yep, and I do think that this is going to be a fun one as well between the Phillies and the Milwaukee Brewers, as you've got 2 division leaders, but Jacob Misiorowski, since coming off the injury list, has been, miserable. 3+ runs allowed in each of his last 4 starts. And Taijuan Walker actually has a respectable 3.60 ERA, but the advanced numbers are not great with them. This is a total of 9. How do you look at this sort of a spot with a guy in Taijuan Walker that I do think is due for regression? And Misiorowski has been in a funk since coming off the injury list, but this might be a good spot against a Phillies team that they have been much different away from home rather than at home.
I'm with you. I'm not really a fan of either pitcher right now, like in the way they're throwing now. Walker was good earlier in the year, but you mentioned their aggression. Misiorowski hasn't been quite the same. I think I like the way the Phillies are playing a little bit better and kind of lean to them in this spot. The issue is, like you said, they're a game under 500 away from Citizens Bank this year. They're not the same team on the road, which is fine. You're supposed to be better at home than on the road. And the fact that they're 500 on the road is perfectly fine. Win your home games, split on the road, and you'll be fine as a long-term team. But we're just talking one game here, so that definitely makes it dicey. But I think I still lean Philadelphia here.
With the Philadelphia Phillies, Kyle Schwarber, that 4 home run game a few days ago was amazing. And I do want to ask you about that because most people think that Shohei Ohtani has this thing sewed up with regards to the NL MVP. Any sort of case to be made whatsoever for Schwarber after that 4 home run game, or is it just a little bit too little too late for him?
I think it's probably too little too late. However, I think the thing that could sway this, I know it's an individual award or whatever, but given everything that was placed upon this Dodgers team, if they slip and the Padres win the NL West, I think people might look at stuff differently. It's not supposed to be about team success. It's supposed to be the most valuable player. We get all that. But Ohtani hasn't necessarily, pitched as much as maybe we thought. He's not, doing full lengthy starts and, going 8 innings or anything like that. And if a Dodgers team that, let's face it, on paper has the best roster we've seen in a long time, couldn't even win its own division, it might make people rethink stuff like that. But if the Dodgers, even if they only win the NL West by, a game or 2 games, that would be big picture wise kind of disappointing. But we would say hey, good team, 1 division, it's fine. I think if the Padres win that division, we might be ooh, how valuable was he when this loaded roster couldn't even win its own division? I think that's probably Schwarber's path.
Yep, and I do think that that is going to be an interesting little note to be taking a look at moving forward because Kyle Schwarber put together a really nice year in a year where, other than Bryce Harper, since he's come off the injury list, not a lot of support around him. So that's going to be an intriguing sort of little bit of tidbit to take a look at in the final month of the season. And I think that this is an interesting game as well because you've got a Seattle Mariners team that they've been a little bit streaky home and road as well. Obviously, the offense has been a little bit better when they've been away from home, and the pitching is a little bit worse when they're away from home because Seattle is such a pitcher-friendly ballpark. But it's Luis Castillo against Shane Baz. Right now for the Rays, a very slight home underdog with a total of 8.5. How do you take a look at this one? Because for Luis Castillo, I've been very willing to back him in Seattle, but he's been a guy that I've wanted absolutely no part of away from home. But Shane Baz has put together a year that's been much, much short of my expectations.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is a Seattle spot mainly because of the offense being better, obviously, away from home and the urgency. I think that's something you need to start factoring in at this point in the year of just, Seattle's in a battle right now. Seattle needs wins. I know players are going to say, like, we try and win every game, blah, 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 but it's different in September. Seattle needs these wins, whether that's a little extra focus from every player, whether that's the way they manage their bullpen differently over these couple games, if it's a one-run game in the seventh or something like that. But I do think that at this point in the year, we need to start looking into the standings a little more than we do in, maybe April or May. And this is a Seattle team that needs all the wins it can get right now if it wants to get to the postseason.
Absolutely. And then we do have a total of 26 teams in action on Labor Day. Not all 30, but we've got ourselves a relatively good Monday slate. Anything else that's standing out to you, whether that be something that you're going to be looking to bet or just something in general that you want to kick back, relax, enjoy your Labor Day, and watch a good game of baseball in general between two teams that you maybe have some intrigue with?
We covered all the main ones, but I'm probably going to watch a little bit of Toronto, Cincinnati, mainly just to see how Toronto is doing in that AL East race, kind of see if they can keep playing well. And then also just because Hunter Green's starting and he's always fun to watch.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Hunter Green, a 1.80 ERA when he is batted at home this far this season. Had a little bit of a rough go of it in his last start, but he has been absolutely masterful. Not quite as masterful as you, though, William. You do such an amazing job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Yeah, I know that you're dialed in on the college football front as well, so let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, obviously big weekend. College football started in earnest over the past couple of days. You can find me on Twitter at WBoor, WBOOR, or in the Action Network app at William Boor _ all one word, and that'll be where all my betting picks are posted. But don't just follow me. Go to actionnetwork.com, follow the Action Network app so you can see everything that all of our experts do. We have stuff, betting guides for most baseball games, WNBA, soccer, and obviously NFL, college football, and pretty much, as you mentioned at the top, anything you can bet. We also every Monday publish voicemails from people that maybe had too much to drink and lost college football bets on the weekend. So that'll be something fun to look forward to today as well.
Oh, that's always good, clean family fun. And if you're a fan of the Wisconsin Badgers, that offense on the weekend, well, I think that it was actually a Thursday game, but man, not great to say the least. But, it is great talking baseball with William Boor. A big thanks to him for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday, this Labor Day Monday, as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by William Boor. He does such great work over at Action Network. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love, baseball. I know he's doing a fantastic job on the football front and so much more, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So a big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday, this Labor Day Monday, as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter /X feed at @GUnit_81. And we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, clean, and easy, and thankfully, we do have some day games. So we start with Dynamo 1902 on the betting board. It is the Miami Marlins. They are on the road. They're facing off against the Washington Nationals. We do know that for the Washington Nationals, it is going to be the young gun, Andrew Alvarez, making his MLB debut. Right now, this is listed as to be determined for the Miami Marlins, so this is a game that is presently off the board. It's looking like it should be Ryan Gusto who's going for the Miami Marlins, and if that's the case, set the Marlins at a minus 108, so I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 107 there, plus 109 or better, looking at the Nationals, and then made a total of 9.2, a 9 or less, I'd be looking at the over, a 9.5 or higher to the under. Now, for the young gun and Alvarez, he came up in the Washington National system. Not a guy that really impresses me too much, though. You take a look at his numbers this year at the AAA level, a 4.10 ERA out there at the AAA level in the Independence League, where it's really a pitcher-friendly league. 8.5 strikeouts at 3.8 walks per 9 innings. He's been a little bit better recently, but I mean, it's not like this is someone that's going to blow you away. And he does go up against Miami Marlins team, has actually been in the top 6 of the big leagues in terms of runs per game away from home. We saw their outburst over the weekend against the New York Mets, and though they're without Kyle Stowers, they actually do a really good job in terms of moving the line, getting on base. Xavier Edwards at the top has been able to give you above a 340 on base. Has been sliding a little bit recently, but Jacob Marcy hitting about a 350 has been remarkable. You've got Augustin Ramirez up to 19 home runs. Really doesn't give you a lot of on base, but Liam Mix about a 350 on base. Roberto Hernandez has been able to move the line, give you about a 330 on base. So, I mean, these guys have been relatively solid. It's Miami Marlins bullpen that since the beginning of the month of June, they have been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. They don't necessarily have a bunch of guys that will completely blow you away, but likes of Blake Bakar, Tyler Phillips, Ronnie Enriquez, Cade Gibson, these are all guys that are able to give you multiple innings. They're able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Whenever Anthony Bender has been out there, he's been able to do a relatively solid job as well, though Anthony Bender, he's been a little bit in and out of the lineup. He's on the injury list, so that does hurt them a little bit. In terms of Ryan Gusto, who I was seeing as the listed starter on ESPN, he's more likely than not going to hit the injured list, and even if you do not get Ryan Gusto, I still would have pretty much the same handicap, because for Gusto, it's not like he had been any good this season. 5.67 ERA. Overall, he was getting strikeouts with about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I mean, honestly, a true bullpen game is just as good for the Miami Marlins. I'd still be setting them right around about a minus 108, because I wouldn't think that Ryan Gusto would be able to give them too much length. And you could be looking at someone like perhaps a Valentin Beloso giving you a few innings. So I know that they utilize him a little bit in that series against the New York Mets, but not too much of a downgrade if you do not get Ryan Gusto in this one. And then for the Washington Nationals, they just have not been able to hit at home. They're averaging in that neighborhood of about 4.5 to 4.6 runs per game away from home, only about 3.9 to 4 runs per game at home, as James Wood has been able to supply the good wood, 360 on base, 26 home runs, and then you do have a pair of guys in Josh Bell, CJ Abrams with between 16 and 17 home runs apiece. Bell's been able to hit above a 260 ever since the beginning of the month of July, but for CJ Abrams, even though he's got a 330 on base, he's been able to supply 17 home runs. Only 3 of those home runs have come at home, and then the young guys just have not really been able to step up for this team. You've got Brady House along with Andres Shapiro, Robert Hassel. All these guys give you a 303 on base or worse, really not supplying a lot of power. Dylan Cruz has been a little bit of a letdown thus far this season, so if you do get like a bullpen game for the Marlins, because I don't think that Ryan Gusto is going to get the start, even though he's right now listed on ESPN, we'll be willing to go up to a minus 107 on that Marlins money line, plus 109 or better, looking at the Nationals, and then a 9 or less to the over, 9.5 or higher the under. 903, 904 on the card. The Atlanta Braves are on the road facing off against the Chicago Cubs, as you've got Colin Ray saying nip a parade to another start, and Spencer Strider goes for the Atlanta Braves. Right now with the Cubs, they're between minus 115 to minus 125 favorites. Right around plus 105 to plus 110 is that number on the Atlanta Braves. Right now we've got a few initial FanDuel openers with regards to a total of a 7.5. The over is a minus 115, and the under is a minus 105, and I actually did set my total at 9.4, so I'm going to be looking at the under. With Colin Ray, he has been pitching to a lot of contact this year, but he's been able to do a good job of being able to get out of it, and he's been able to do a nice job of inducing soft contact, and the way that the wind is going to be pulling on Monday is really going to be able to help him out. Now, this is a little bit more of a day game, which we always love to see, but it should be blowing a little bit like diagonally towards the beginning part of the game, and then blowing directly in towards the end end of the game at right around about 8 or so miles per hour. So not like a super duper gust of wind, but a relatively solid wind. So that does help out Colin Ray in this one, a guy that is only getting in that neighborhood about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, has been allowing 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, so 423 ERA, 467. Feeling Pennant did get a little blazed in his last start against the San Francisco Giants, but overall when he's pitched at Wrigley Field this far this season, Ray has been able to do a nice job of holding down the fort. 406 ERA. Now he has given up about 1.6 home runs per 9 innings at home, but overall he's been able to do a good job in terms of being able to limit the damage, not give out a lot of walks, and for Spencer Strider, this has been a pretty miserable run for him. For Strider, he has seen his ERA go above 5. He continues to be able to give you swings and misses, and he's able to give you the punch-outs, but he's just been allowing way too much contact in general. For Spencer Strider, about 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, which for his standards is relatively down. He's giving up 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. He's up above 3.5 walks per 9, so all this has been very much less than savory. And for Spencer Strider, when he's on the road, he's up to a 5.10 ERA, albeit his home runs per 9 rate closer to about 1.2 away from home, and he's backed up by a bullpen that's been hit or miss all season long. Mauricio Iglesias has been a little bit better recently, but he's right now rocking about a 3.88 ERA. Dylan Lee has started to regress. His ERA is now approaching about a 3.50. The Dodd-father, Dylan Dodd, has been up and down. Desbel Hernandez, Pierce Johnson, these two guys have been able to give you sub-3 ERA. It's really been the offense that has been carrying the Atlanta Braves post-All-Star break. They're actually a top 6 team with regards to their run production ever since the break, so they've been able to do a nice job there. Marcell Ozuna, Matt Olson are both supplying 20-plus home runs, both above a 355 on base. So Ozuna hitting only a 227 for the year. Michael Harris has really picked it up as well. 17 home runs, hitting for the season at 250, though that comes with a 271 on base. This guy really needs to learn how to be able to draw some walks, but you look at Harris and what he's been able to do over the last 3 days, hitting above a 300 with 8 home runs, so he's done a nice job there. Ozzie Albies is up to 13 home runs. Drake Baldwin, Sean Murphy at the catcher spot, and combined 30 home runs, so these guys have been solid. And for the Cubs post-All-Star break, this has been a bottom 8 team in terms of runs per game. They helped themselves out a little bit at Coors Field, but even at Coors, they were leaving a lot of men on base. Pete Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki have both been able to give you 27-plus home runs. They combined at about a 250, and then Dansby Swanson hitting at 250 with 21 home runs has been solid. Kyle Tucker, 380 on base, 21 home runs. Michael Busch, 26 bombs, 345 on base. Like, this is still a really deep lineup. It's just a matter of time before they get things going. Matter of when, though, and for the Chicago Cubs, I do believe that they've got the better bullpen in this spot. You've got a lot of guys who are able to just come in there and hold down the fort. Brad Keller, Daniel Palencia, Caleb Theobar, Drew Pomeranz have all been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. As a matter of fact, a sub-250 ERA. They have not gotten a lot out of Ryan Presley, who's been dealing with injury for quite a while, and Andrew Kittredge, who they brought in, is posting up about a 450 ERA, but I do think that you get a relatively good start out of Colin Ray, so did set my money line price at a minus 133, and plus, you have the Braves coming off of Sunday Night Baseball, having to travel for a day game on Monday. That's a little bit less than savory, so it is a circumstance where I'm going to be taking a look at the Cubs on the money line, and at a 7.5 or higher, I'm going to be in on this total under. 9:05, 9:06 on the card, the Milwaukee Brewers play host the Philadelphia Phillies. Tom Walker goes for the Phils. Jacob Mizorowski, the Miz Kid, is on the bum for the Brewers. The Brewers between minus 155 to minus 164 favorites, plus 134 to a plus 140. That number on the Phils, and 9 is the total. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And for the Brewers, I did set their money line price at a minus 151. If you're looking at that initial FanDuel opener in terms of laying a run half with the Brewers, you're going to be able to get that at a plus 126. Personally, I would rather lay a little bit of a chalkier money line with the Milwaukee Brewers. I would need to be getting a little bit closer to like a plus 128 or so with regards to Milwaukee Brewers. So I would be willing to lay up to a minus 155 on that money line with the Milwaukee Brewers. This is a bunch that actually scores way less when they're at home rather than away from home. They had a little bit of a follow-up with regards to their offense on Sunday, but overall this has been a very, very rock-solid, consistent team, hitting for about 4.6 runs per game at home, 5.6 runs per game away from home. So either way, they've been able to do a rock solid job. Now you've got Jackson Trio back in full, because with Trio out, that meant that the Brewers only had one guy in their starting lineup that had more than 16 home runs this season, so that helps out quite a bit. And Trio really doesn't draw a lot of walks, but he's hitting at 285, and then just have a whole bunch of other guys that are supplying at least a 345 on base, and Andrew Monasterio is very close, 339 on base out of him. Yelich, who I mentioned before, was up to 26 plus home runs this season. William Contreras, Sal Frelick, Isaac Collins, Bryce Terang, all these guys posting up at least a 345 on base, and you've got Caleb Durbin up to about a 330 on base. For the Milwaukee Brewers, they do have the deeper bullpen in this ordeal as well. Aaron Ashby, Shelby Miller, Nick Mears, Abner Uribe, all posting up a sub-325 ERA. Even with Trevor McGill on the injured list, it's pretty rock solid. And for Mizorowski, it is all about just trying to regain his form as he has come off the injured list, and it's not been great. In his 4 starts since coming off the injured list, 3+ runs allowed in every one of them. He is still posting up the strikeouts, which you like to see, as he's been able to give the team a combined 20 strikeouts in his last 4 starts, but the problem is those last 4 starts have really not lasted long, as he has won a combined, I believe, if my math serves me correct, 14 and a third inning, so you just need to get a little bit more there. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, Taijuan Walker is doing for quite a bit of regression as well. Taijuan Walker has been a whole heck of a lot better than he was last year. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, but he's been getting away with giving up quite a few deep balls this far this season. A 3.63 ERA, 4.66 fielding independent, 1.3 home runs, 2.8 walks allowed per 9 innings, and it's only getting 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. It does help that they've got Yohan Duran now in that bullpen, and it's getting better. Jose Alvarado is back off of suspension. Tanner Banks, Orion Kirkering, I've been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, Kyle Schwarber just continues to give you Schwarbombs, 370 on base, 49 home runs. Outside of that, you've only got one player above 16 home runs on the roster, Bryce Harper, who's been solid, 350 on base, 22 home runs, and plenty of guys are moving the line for this team. Harper, JT Realmuto, Brandon Marsh, Harrison Bader, all in between about a 265, 270. Trey Turner's been able to hit for a 300. You've gotten 14 home runs as well out of Harrison Bader. I mentioned a little bit before, but do think that in the end, the Brewers are going to be able to get to Taijuan Walker, and I do think that Mizorowski is going to look in a little bit of better form here. Did set my total at 8.8, so here at the 9, I'm in on the under, and with the Brewers up to a -155 is what I'm willing to lay on that money line. 9-7, 9-8 on the betting board. It is the San Francisco Giants on the road. They're facing off against the Colorado Rockies, as Wei Tang is on the bump for the San Francisco Giants, and Chase Dollander is on the bump for the Colorado Rockies. Rockies, shock, surprise, surprise, do find themselves as an underdog here of anywhere between +123 to a +133. Meanwhile, between -140 to -155, that number on San Francisco with a total of 11.5 over and under, both at -110. And I am going to be willing to take a shot on the over. I did set my total at an 11.8 for Tang. He's made a few appearances, and do note that they might utilize an opener from. They've done it already once as far this season. A nice already 8.78 ERA. Now, it comes with a 5 fielding dependent, as he's only allowed 1 home run in his 4 appearances as far this season across 13 and third innings, but he's also given up 6 walks per 9 innings. Really just has not been able to put it together. Not even a guy that really impressed me when he was at the minor league level this year. When he was at the minors for Sacramento, it's very much a juice ball league. He was able to get quite a few strikeouts, but that was mainly as a reliever. Like, he was not really starting games. He had a total of 57 innings in 26 appearances in Sacramento, so you're not going to be able to get a lot of length here. That might not be the world's worst thing for the San Francisco Giants, though, as for the San Francisco Giants are currently number 2 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen right now. Much of that came with Tyler Rogers along Camilo Doval in the fold. You've got Eric Miller currently on the injured list. This is not quite the same bullpen that we saw at the beginning part of the season, but you saw Randy Rodriguez being able to supply a sub-2 ERA. Joey Lucchesi is in that bullpen as a little bit of a long guy. Now, I do recognize that he's got over a 4 ERA, but you still have Spencer Bivens in there as well. And for the San Francisco Giants, this is a lineup that they do a whole heck of a lot better job of hitting on the road rather than at home. As a matter of fact, they are second worst in the National League in terms of runs per game at home, with about 3.85 runs per game at home, compared to about 4.5 runs per game on the road. You do have Willie Adames starting to be able to supply some power. He's up to 25 home runs. Problem is, he's hitting at 230 for the season, and over the last 40 days, he's been hitting right around about a 200. Some of these young guys, like the entirety of the catcher spot, Luis Matos, Drew Gilbert, hitting at 230 or lower. You just have not been able to get a lot there. Matt Chapman is only hitting about a 230, though. He does supply about a 340 on base. He's up to 15 plus home runs, and Eloy Ramos, a 340 on base. Flip side, you've got a Colorado Rockies lineup that is obviously a whole heck of a lot better when they're at home rather than when they're away from home, but it's still been a pretty rough bunch as far this season. They're averaging about 4.6 runs per game at home, which is still well inside the top 10 in the big leagues, despite the fact that their home ballpark is Coors, and that's a big reason why you notice that when they're on the road, they're dead last in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. They're just not generating a whole heck of a lot. Hunter Goodman has been amazing, 26 overall home runs for the season, actually has more home runs on the road than he does at home this far this season, but has been able to hit for a 275 for the team, and you've got a few guys that have been able to step up and have been able to get relatively solid at home. Mickey Moniak has been able to give you 11 home runs. He's hitting about a 300 at home. Brenton Doyle hitting a 325 at home with 10 home runs. And then you've been able to get some relatively good production out of Jordan Beck in terms of move the line, a 360 on base. But even some of these other guys, like a Yaquil Fernandez, is 259 on base at home, not necessarily great. The entirety of the shortstop spot has been up and down. Orlando Arcia is hitting below the Bedos line of 200 overall for the season, and it's really not a lot better when he's at home. And for the Colorado Rockies, ERA in the bullpen is right around 5.25. That is second worst in all baseball. Is Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Erget. These guys have been solid. They've both been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA, but then you've got Jaden Hill posting up a 4 ERA, and then a lot of guys at a 5+, as you've got that of Luis Peralta, Nick Anderson, Ryan Rolson, Anthony Molina. These guys have just been not amazing, to say the least. So even though Kai Wei Tang probably not going to be too long for this game, I do think that he's going to be able to give you just enough for this Giants bullpen to be able to take hold, especially with Chase Solander just not pitching well at home this far this season. Like, Chase Solander, when he's been on the road, has been able to give you a sub 4 ERA, gives up about 1.3 or so home runs per 9 innings. When he is at home, he has been absolutely awful thus far this season. As for Dollander, his ERA at home balloons up to above a 9. As a matter of fact, a 9.88 with 2.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. So do think that the Giants get to him, hit him pretty hard. Semi to 11.8. So I'm in on the over. And with the Giants, I set their money line price at a minus 152. If you're looking to lay a run half, I'd be willing to go up to a minus 107 there. Right now, that initial opener I'm seeing is plus 106. So we'll take plus money on that run line to go along with this total over. 9-9, 9-10 on the card. The Guardians are on the road against the Boston Red Sox, as Brian Bayo is on the bump for the Red Sox, and you've got the young gun and Parker Misick on the bump for the Guardians. Guardians underdogs of between plus 128 to a plus 136, minus 150 to minus 160 is that number on Boston. 8.5 is the total. Over is between minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 110, and I did set the Red Sox at a minus 147 on the money line. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Red Sox, you're going to be able to find that at a plus 136. My minimum buy point is a plus 136, so I am going to be willing to buy in on that run line. Brian Bayo has just been really good for the Red Sox this far this season, as he's not necessarily a guy that's going to blow you away with swing and miss stuff, but he's got that sinker ball that's able to get him a lot of double play ground balls. Only about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, so about 3 walks per 9, but 2.99 ERA. The 4.9 fielding dependent is a little bit concerning, but this man has been rocking and rolling recently. Combined 8 earned runs allowed in each out of his last 5 starts, 5 starts in total, and he's went 5 2/3 innings or more in each out of his last 5 starts. And for Misick, he's only made a few starts, but this is someone that was really good, I believe, when he was pitching in Florida State for college baseball, and he has come up to the big league level, and he has been absolutely incredible thus far for the Guardians. First two starts, 1 run allowed in 13 2/3 innings, and you'll look back at what he was able to do as a prospect coming up at AAA Columbus, and his strikeout stuff was great. 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, was giving up a few too many walks. Thus far, the big league level has not really done a lot of that. Only 1 walk given up in his first 2 starts. Think that might be doing for a little bit of regression, especially facing off against the Red Sox lineup that they had their ups and downs over the weekend against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But I mean, this is still one of the more fearsome teams in all baseball in terms of moving the line, getting on base. They're a top 16 with about 4.9 runs per game, and even though they don't necessarily have that one guy that's going to go off and hit for like 30-plus home runs this year, as Violet Abreu, their leader in home runs, is currently on the injured list, you still have a lot of guys that they just find a way to be able to get on base. Like, all these guys are in between about a 244 to a 260. Jaron Duran, Abreu is currently on the injured list. Trevor Story, Carlos Narvaez, Don Rafaela, and then with Rafaela and Duran, they've been able to give you 14 to 15 home runs apiece. Trevor Story's up to 22 bombs, so these guys have been able to do a solid job there. Masataka Yoshida is just yet to really get going, but I mean, even someone like a Rob Refsnyder, he's a platoon player. He's able to give you 360 on base, and then you've got Roman Anthony, who's been able to give you darn near 400 on base. The Red Sox back up AO, by the way, with a top 5 team in terms of bullpen area, with Aroldis Chapman being the best closer in all baseball this year. How about nearly 13 strikeouts per 9 innings with a 102 ERA? Just absolutely amazing. And then Greg Weiser, Garrett Whitlock, Justin Wilson, these guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've had Brandon Bernardino be relatively solid as a long guy as well. For the Cleveland Guardians, top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA since the beginning of the month of June. Without Emmanuel Clase, this has actually been a stronger bullpen with likes of Jacob Junis, Eric Sabrowski, Nick Enright, Cade Smith, all being able to supply a sub-305 ERA. You've had Hunter Gaddis be a little bit up and down, but overall it's a solid bullpen for a lineup that it needs some work because it's very top heavy. Jose Ramirez, 355 on base with 26 home runs. Kyle Manzardo's up to 23 home runs. Would like to see him hit for a little bit above a 233, but he's been solid, and Stephen Kwan has been able to 270, and then you've got a quartet of guys sitting between about a 220 to a 225. Daniel Sheeman, Carlos Santana, Anel Martinez, Gabriel Urias, and then CJ Kayfus, Bo Naylor, David Fry, Austin Edges, Will Wilson, all these guys hitting below the Bedell sign 200. Do think that Bayo should be able to go out there and dominate this one. I did set a relatively low total on this game at an 8.2, so I'm going to be looking at the under, and with the Red Sox plus 136 or better, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that run line. 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. It is the LA Angels, and they're going to be on the road facing up against the Houston Astros. You say Kikuchi. I say that he's starting for the Angels, and as of right now, it is all to be determined on the bump for the Astros. According to the grapevine, this might be the season debut of a Luis Garcia, and if we do see Luis Garcia going up against the Angels, I did set the Astros on the money line at a minus 139, so we'll be willing to go up to a minus 138 there, plus 140 or better. Looking at the Angels, and then maybe a total of 8.1, 8 or less in on the over, 8.5 or the under. Now, if you do get some sort of a bullpen game for the Astros or some sort of a young gun starter, I would probably be downgrading this by about 20 cents. I would still stick with the 8 or less to the over, 8.5 or to the under, but if you do indeed get Luis Garcia, it has been a while since we have seen him at the big league level. As a matter of fact, he has not thrown off a big league mound since the early part of the 2023 campaign, but they did him right in terms of the minor league rehab starts. For Luis Garcia, he made quite a few minor league rehab starts. I believe that he made 9 total appearances, 330 ERA. The swing and miss stuff, I made sure to watch a few YouTube videos, what have you. It's back for him. He's been able to give 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings at the minor league level. Was giving up the deep ball a little bit in his first few starts. He's been able to calm that down a little bit. Should be good to go here. And for Yusei Kikuchi, I just still have question marks with regards to the command and how he's been able to pitch when he's been away from home this season. Overall, 368 ERA, 415 fielding dependent, as things have just toilet bowl from 4+ runs allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts, and much of it does have to go back to him giving up over 3.5 walks per 9 innings. And for Yusei Kikuchi, when he has been on the road this far this season, an almighty struggle of a 5.25 ERA, 1-7 away from home. He is giving up in the neighborhood about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, at home closer about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, and a 2.30 ERA. Now, for the LA Angels, this is very much an all-or-nothing lineup in which they are in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of on-base percentage, but they're in the top 5 in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, like Logan Oapi. He's been able to give you 18+ home runs. He's providing less than a 270 on base. Taylor Ward is up to 30 home runs, 318 on base. You've been able to have Joe Adell give you about a 295 on base with his 30 home runs. Even someone like Mike Trout, he's been able to supply 20 home runs this far this season. He's got a 360 on base, but he's still hitting just a 231. Yohan Moncada is only hitting for about a 225. Travis d'Arnaud has been hitting right around about a 200. Oswaldo Peraza has not been able to give you anything. Zach Neto has been relatively solid, but also for the LA Angels, this is a bullpen that is highly suspect right now, as you've got just so many guys that are rocking an ERA above a 4. You've got that out of Ryan Sefrian, Reed Detmers. Throw in there the other Luis Garcia is more around about a 350 ERA, but Sam Bachman, lots of guys have not gotten the job done outside of Brock and Roll Burke along Kenley Jansen. No reliability here whatsoever, and for the Houston Astros, even if Luis Garcia can't give you a long start, or if you have to go with a bullpen game in general, and Luis Garcia does not end up coming off the injured list, you still have so many guys like the Bryants, Brian King, Brian Abreu, along with Steven Okert, who've been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Bennett Sosa and Josh Hader being on the injured list do hurt the team, and for the Astros, ever since the All-Star break, they have been in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of run production, but to have Jose Altuve give you 23 home runs, he's been able to about a 275. Christian Walker has been able to now give you 21 home runs, still only about a 302 on base, and Yanier Diaz, it's for a 255 with only a 286 on base, but 18 home runs out of him. Mauricio Dubon is moving the line, hitting a 250. Victor Carantini, more like a 260. In the end, I do think that the Astros should be a nice size favorite. If it is Luis Garcia against Yusei Kikuchi, I set the Astros at a minus 139. 139, so we'd be willing to go up to minus 138 there. Plus 140 or better looking at the Angels. A bullpen game, the Astros are probably closer to about a minus 120 on that money line. Then either way, 8 or less looking at the over 8.5 or higher. The under 913, 914 on the card. The Chicago White Sox are on the road. They're facing off against the Minnesota Twins. Bailey Ober is on the bump for Minnesota, and it was looking a little bit earlier like we were going to be getting Aaron Savali in this start. As of right now, this game is currently off the board. I did handicap as if we were going to get Aaron Savali. I set the Twins at a minus 167 on the money line, so minus 166 or better looking there. Or if we could get a plus 115 or better on that run line, I'd be looking at the run line plus 168 or better looking at the Chicago White Sox, and then set a total to where an 8.5 or less in on the over, a 9 or higher to the under. And I am seeing a few initial openers out there, and I'm seeing that run line on the Minnesota Twins above a plus 115. And if you do indeed get Aaron Savali, man, it's been a rough run. Like, if you get a true bullpen game for the Chicago White Sox, that's actually not a downgrade for them. I probably wouldn't adjust this too much, but I might be willing to set it at more like a plus 160 or so with the Chicago White Sox, because Aaron Savali has just been that bad thus far this season. Like, for Savali, he just went out there and he got torched in his last start. He's right now for the season got a 5.25 ERA, a fielding dependent of 460, 7.5 strikeouts, and 3.3 walks per 9 innings. He has now given up at least 3 runs in each out of his last 4 starts, and for Bailey Ober, he's had a pretty disastrous season as well. For our good friend and Mr. Over, a 5.14 ERA, and I think I called him over instead of Ober, but I mean, still very, very true. He's been playing a lot to the over thus far this season, as he's given up 2 home runs per 9 innings, still not hurting himself with only about 1.9 walks per 9 innings. He does go up against a White Sox team that you could take a look at them one of 2 ways. Overall for the season, they've been a bottom 6 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, but they've actually been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of runs scoring since the All-Star break, but still not a lot of hard contact with his team. Lennon Sosa has been able to lead the way. He's been able to give the team 18 home runs, and he's hitting about a 270, and then got a quartet of guys between 13 and 15 home runs. Luis Robert, Colson Montgomery, Andrew Benintendi, and Miguel Vargas, but all these guys are hitting at 236 or lower. You do have Mike Tauchman being able to give you 360 on base, and the catcher spot, Edgar Quiero along Kyle Teel, both of these guys are above a 280, not really any power and not drawing a lot of walks, but they're hitting for average. For the White Sox, this has actually been a bullpen that has been full of long guys that have been solid for you. Mike Vasil being the main of them, who has already made a few starts as far as the season, so if he starts in place of Savali, not a downgrade there. He and Wolfman Gonzalez have been able to give you a sub 275 ERA. Steven Wilson has been able to give you about a 3.15 ERA. You've had a few guys just go down the toilet bowl, as it's been a bad run recently for Tyler Gilbert, as he's now got over a 4 ERA. Jordan Leisure has been having his issues along with Brandon Eisert, all 4+ ERA. Tyler Alexander more like a 3.88 ERA, and then on the other end, you've got a Minnesota Twins team that they traded away pretty much all of their good relievers, so now you're looking at likes of Michael Tonkin, Cody Funderburk, Cole Sands, Justin Topa, a whole bunch of guys with above a 3.65 ERA. Erasmo Ramirez has actually been solid as a long guy, but for the Twins, they're starting to find their offense once again. Byron Buxton, 29 home runs with about a 270 average, has been solid. Trevor Larnach, Brooks Lee, between 14 and 16 home runs apiece, sitting in the neighborhood of a 245 to 255. You've had a few guys towards the bottom of the fold, like Edouard Julien, Deshaun Kersey, and company, give you absolutely nothing, but Luke Accio, above a 400 on base. That's been pretty solid for this team as well. So if it is indeed Ober going up against a volley, plus 115 or better, looking at that Twins run line. Bullpen game, probably more like a plus 120 is what I would need on that Twins run line. Need at least plus 168 with Savali on the money line. Bullpen game closer to about plus 160, and regardless of Savali or bullpen game, in after less, looking at the over, a 9 or higher, the under. 915, 916 on the card. The Mariners are on the road. They're facing off against the Tampa Bay Rays, as you've got the Boz, the Wizard of Boz, Shane Boz, going for the Tampa Bay Rays. Luis Castillo goes for Seattle. Seattle's a favorite between minus 115 and minus 120, minus 102 to a plus 104 is that number on Tampa Bay. 8.5 is the total, over and under any between minus 105 to a minus 110, and I set the Rays at a slim minus 103 on the money line. I'm going to be willing to lay it. Luis Castillo has just had all sorts of issues when he's been away from home. Away from home for Castillo, he has been posting up a 5.02 ERA with 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Overall for the season, a 3.75 ERA, but he's allowed 14 runs across his last 13 innings in his 3 starts, most recent. I mean, that's just not what you want to see. And then for Shane Boz, he's had his issues as well. 3+ runs allowed in each out of his last 5 starts. 5.19 ERA, 1.6 home runs, 3.4 walks allowed per 9 innings, posting up an ERA that's hovering right around about 6 when he is at home. So both of these starting pitchers are having their issues. For the Seattle Mariners, they did have to use up their closer in Andres Munoz yesterday, so that's something to be mindful of. And for the Seattle Mariners, the top guys have been very good in this bullpen, as you've got Munoz, Gabe Spire, Matt Brash, all give you a sub 2.25 ERA, but all pitched yesterday. And then you've got someone like Edward Bizzardo, who's been able to give you sub 3 ERA for the Seattle Mariners. It's a little bit of an all-or-nothing lineup, though, and Randy Arozarena has really come alive. 340 on base with 26 home runs. Julio Rodriguez, he's hitting for about a 265 with 25-plus bombs. Cal Raleigh, big dumper, stuck on 50 home runs for quite a while, but to be stuck on 50 home runs, you have to hit 50 home runs, and he's giving you about a 350 on base. Josh Naylor about a 350 on base, and Eugenio Suarez still with 42-plus home runs, but he, since being traded to the Seattle Mariners, has been hitting below the Bedell sign of 200. You have had, though, Dom Canzone hitting about a 340 on base for this team, and then on the other end, you've got a bunch in the Tampa Bay Rays that is in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run scoring. Junior Caminero, 39 home runs. Now, the amount of walks that he draws is very, very slim, but he's hitting above a 250. Brandon Lau has been able to get loud, as he's been able to darn near about a 265 for this team. He's now been able to supply 28 home runs. Yandy Diaz, 22 bombs. He's been able to give you about a 340 on base as well. So these guys have really been able to step up. And then you've got a lot of base stealing with Chandler Simpson hitting at about a 290, 38 stolen bases. Jake Magnum, 20 stolen bags. He's hitting at 285. Now at the bottom of the fold, Taylor Walls, the catcher spot, Christopher Morel. These guys have been less than tremendous. And why they've got Brian Baker and Griffin Jacks over someone like Eric Orsay, who's currently at the minor league level, I have no idea, but you still have had Pete Fairbanks be a solid closer with about a 280 ERA. Brian Van Beal is showing a little bit of upside. He, along with Eric Clevenger, supplying a sub 225 ERA, so do think that in the end, the Rays do a nice job of getting to Casio and get the job done. I said I total year of 9.3. I'm in on the over end for the Rays at a minus 102 or better. I like their money line, 917, 918 on the card. The Mets are on the road against the Detroit Tigers. Charlie Morton is on the bump for the Tigers. Sean Manaea is on the bump for the Mets. Mets are between a minus 103 to a minus 115, very slim favorite, and between minus 105 to a minus 110 is that number on Detroit. 8.5 is the total. Overs between minus 110 to a minus 120. Unders between even a minus 110. And with the Mets, I did set them as a underdog of a plus 108. For Sean Manaea, he just has really been going through it recently. The swing and miss stuff has been pretty solid from thus far this season, but still a 5.01 ERA to go along with his 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's allowing 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. So 346 fielding dependent indicates that he should be doing for some positivity, but 4+ runs allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts. And for Charlie Morton, it's been an up-down all-around sort of season from because the overall season numbers, 5.25 ERA. He is still getting about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 4.1 walks, 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. That's been a little bit less than amazing. And since coming on over to the Detroit Tigers, down to about a 4.61 ERAs, and he's been able to get about 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he's been a little bit better there, but certainly has had his ups and downs. And he gets to face off against a lineup here of the New York Mets that is a little bit top heavy, though. You've had the likes of Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Jeff McNeil now give you 12+ home runs, selling above a 240. So these guys at the bottom had to be able to do a solid job. Juan Soto, he's up to 34 home runs. He's been able to supply north of a 390 on base. And then you've got a trio of guys with 20+ home runs to be able to support them. Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, and Pete Alonso with Alonso give you about a 345 on base. Lindor had a nice previous series against the Miami Marlins. The catcher spot has been an issue for the New York Mets, but all in all, these guys have been solid. Now for the Mets, what is a big concern is Ryan Helsley posting up over a 5 ERA. Since coming on over to the Mets, you've got Reed Garrett currently on the injury list. Lou Brooks Raley has been able to do a nice job, give you sub 225 ERA. Tyler Rogers has been solid all season long as well, so these guys have been able to come in there and they've been able to hold down the forward end for the Detroit Tigers since the beginning of the month of June. This is a bullpen that does rank in the bottom 7 in baseball in terms of bullpen ERA. Tyler Holton has been posting up above a 350 ERA. Will Vest and Kyle Finnegan are down below a 350 ERA, and Kyle Finnegan, since coming on over from the Nationals, has been solid along with Brandon Hennefy. He's been able to do a nice job, but Rafael Montero is not necessarily great. And for the Detroit Tigers, one of the big hallmarks of this team is just the overall lineup consistency that you got. Because typically on a day in and day out basis, you're either going to have 8 or 9 guys in the starting lineup that are all hitting at least a 255. Your main outlier has been Spencer Torkelson. And for Torkelson, he's hitting for about a 330 on base, 235 average with over 26 home runs this season. Gary Carpenter, 22 plus bombs. He's hitting at 258. You've got Riley Green, over 30 home runs, hitting at 270. And then Wencio Perez, Zach McKinstry, Javi Baez, Gleyber Torres. All these guys are between 11 to 14 home runs. They're all hitting between about a 258 to a 268. And then when Trey Sweeney's out there, he doesn't necessarily hit for a lot of average either. But in the end, I do think that for the Detroit Tigers, they do get to Sean Manaea here. I do think that this is a bit of higher scoring game, so I told it at 8.7. So like the over and the Tigers up to a minus 108 on that money line. 919, 920 on the card. The Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They play also the Toronto Blue Jays. Chris Bassett has Yoke Line and sinker for the Jays. Hunter Green goes for Cincinnati. Reds are between minus 120 to minus 137 favorites, plus 112 to plus 116 is that number on Toronto. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I do like the Reds on the money line. I did set them at a minus 149. Hunter Green has just been so masterful this year, especially when he's been at home. Like, overall for the season, Hunter Green has been able to go out there and do his job every single time. 281 ERA. He's getting 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. Has been giving up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, but only about 1.9 walks per 9 innings. But that ERA dips all the way down to 180 when he's in Cincinnati. And then for Chris Bassett, he's had some really big issues when he's been away from home. Overall, 4.14 ERA, and I believe he's a little bit better than that ERA. 8.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up in the neighborhood about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, 2.6 walks per 9, but that ERA shoots up to a 6.10 when he's away from home, and this Blue Jays lineup just simply has not been the same bunch when they've been away from home. Still relatively solid. They're averaging about 5.3 runs per game at home compared to just a hair over 4.5 runs per game when they're away from home, as you've got Liger Jr. along George Springer really doing a nice job supplying 21 plus home runs for the team. Both of these guys above a 375 on base, so certainly they've been able to do a solid job. Bo Bichette, he's hitting for above a 300. He's been hovering right around about 17 or so home runs, so and these guys have been able to do a nice job. And then Edison Barger, 16 plus home runs, hitting above a 250. Guys at the bottom lineup have really stepped it up, and Dalton Varsho, even though he's got a sub 290 on base, he's getting a home run every about 11 at-bats, as he has not been healthy for the entirety of the season, but when he's been out there, he's been solid. Even Miles Straw hitting a 275, but it is a Blue Jays bullpen that has been a little bit suspect. Jeff Hoffman, whenever you put him in big spots, Chad Green, both of these guys rocking an either ERA above a 450. You got Nick Sandlin back on the injury list, but Braden Fisher, Brandon Little, Uriel Rodriguez give you a sub 350 ERA, has been solid. And recognize that Louis Varland in a Blue Jays uniform specifically has not been great. In a Blue Jays uniform, right now his ERA is a 6, but he was posting up a 2 ERA with the Minnesota Twins. I do think that he's going to be able to find his form. And for the Cincinnati Reds, it's a relatively league average bullpen, as Tony Santin and Emilio Pagan were both used yesterday. Both are giving you a sub 3 ERA. Pagan has been giving up the deep ball a little bit too much, but overall has been solid. And then you've been able to get Brent Suter to be able to give you about a 350 ERA. Same with Scott Barlow. And for the Reds, it's obviously Elliot De La Cruz who's been carrying the mail for the team, though he's been stuck on 19 home runs for quite a while, but continues to give you a 341 on base. He's stolen bases, over 30 of them have been rock solid. Also, to say his kid was a little bit slow for the last few weeks in terms of the home run power. He was able to go deep yesterday, so that's big. He and Matt McClain have been able to give you 12 and 13 home runs apiece, but Novalio Marte, he's been able to give you a home run every about 20 or so at bats. He's been able to about a 290. TJ Friedel, Gavin Lux, both above a 355 on base, has been solid for this lineup as well. Catcher spot has been a little bit suspect, but I do think that this bunch does a nice job of being able to get to Chris Bassett and get the job done. I set the Reds on the money line at a minus 149, so I'm going to be able to lay it there, and I did set my total at 8.4 with the way that the Blue Jays lineup just not quite the same away from home, so I do like that under, and I do like the Reds on the money line. 921, 922 on the board. The Athletics are on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Sonny Gray is on the bump for the Cardinals. Luis Morales is on the bump for the Athletics. Athletics are an underdog between plus 122 to a plus 134. Minus 140 to minus 150 is the number on St. Louis with a total of 8. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. With the Cardinals, I did set them on the money line at a minus 157. I don't want to go run line, but I'm willing to go money line. As for the Cardinals, they are in the bottom 2 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game ever since the All-Star break. And, well, it's been a very rough run for our good friend in Sonny Gray. Recently has been a little bit better. 3 earned runs allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts or fewer. Had that rough start against the New York Yankees, but the big thing for Sonny Gray is that he's just so much better when he's at home rather than when he's away from home. For Sonny Gray, 5.24 road ERA. His home runs per 9 rate on the road is above a 1.7. At home, it's less than a 1 home run per 9 inning rate, and he's been posting up a 3.57 ERA. Now for Luis Morales, he's actually been very good in his small sample size thus far with the Athletics, as he's posting up a 1.19 ERA in 5 appearances. He's lucky to have this, as the command has been a bit of an issue. 4 walks per 9 innings, and he's only been able to fulfill 22 2/3 innings. So a little bit of concern there when he was pitching at the minor league level this year for Morales. Was getting about 11 strikeouts to 3.5 walks per 9 innings, so very much noted with regards to the command issues, but has really good swing and miss stuff. And for the Athletics, this is a bullpen that just has not been great this far this season. They were able to get some relatively okay length out of JT Ginn, and that was much needed. Michael Kelly, along with Sean Newcomb, have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, and Elvis Alvarado has not been terrible for this team, but then you do have the likes of Tyler Ferguson. When he's been out there, Mitch Spence, as he's out with injury, Ben Bowden, guys like this, they've been giving you above a 4.20 ERA. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, Kyle Leahy, Matt Savanson, Jojo Romero, these have been relatively rock-solid pieces, being able to give you a sub 3.35 ERA. Now for the Athletics, it's been a lineup that ever since the All-Star break has been in the top 6 in the big leagues in terms of home run power. You've got a quartet of guys that will be able to give you at least 23 home runs, and they've just really been able to supply the boom. As Tyler Soderstrom, 23 home runs, is hitting about a 270. Nick Kurtz is right now giving you above a 400 on base. He's been able to supply over 25 home runs. Shea Banks, Shea Langoliers hitting a 265. He's up to 28 plus home runs. And then you've had Brent Rooker hitting about a 270. He's been able to give the team quite a bit of boom as well. You've had someone like a Lawrence Butler, not necessarily give you a lot of average, but he has been able to give you a little bit more power this far this season as well. And then the bottom of the lineup with having Denzel Clark currently on the injury list, that's been a little bit rough. The wrong Max Muncy has not really been able to give you a whole heck of a lot as well, but overall it is a rock solid team, even with having the likes of Zach Aloff not giving you too much of anything. And then for the St. Louis Cardinals, the young guys just need to step up for the team. The likes of Jordan Walker, Victor Scott, who's currently dealing with a little bit of injury, Nolan Gorman, these guys hitting at 235 or less have really been costly for the team. You do have Wilson Contreras, who's been able to give you 19 home runs, 340 on base. I thought that he was supposed to serve some sort of a suspension for a tirade, but has yet to take hold. You've got Ivan Herrera, who's been able to give you about a 367 on base. He's been able to give you a little bit of power, so that's been helpful. But even Lars Dupar, he does give you about a 330 on base, 14 plus home runs, but he's been hitting just a 239 thus far this season as well. So the Cardinals very much have been a little bit lackluster with regards to the lineup, but Morales is giving up a lot of walks. I do think that that's going to help the Cardinals get going just a little bit. And the A's, they do have one of the worst bullpens in all of baseball, so I did sell my tilt at 8.1 at an 8. I'm in on the over with Cardinals. I would rather lay a chalkier money line rather than a run line with having a little bit of a lack of faith in that lineup. So looking at that money line, and I'm going to be looking at this total over as well. 923, 924 on the card. It is the Orioles, and they're going to be playing OC Slam Diego Padres. We do know that Kyle Bradish is going to be on the bump for the Orioles, and as of right now, it's to be determined for the Padres. Now, this should be Dylan Cease getting the start for the San Diego Padres, and if this is indeed the case, I did set the Padres on the money line at a minus 154, so I'm willing to lay up to a minus 153 there, or a plus 135 or better looking at the run line. Plus 155 or higher will be looking at the Orioles, and then set a total of a 7.7, 7.5 or less. I'm in on the over an 8 or higher to the under. Ironically enough, these two teams made a pretty big giant swap at the trade deadline, and right now, just not seeing a lot of openers with this game, which is why I gave my handicap. But that said, with Kyle Bradish, this is going to be, I believe, start number 2 of the season for him. He just hasn't been able to get a lot of run, and when Kyle Bradish is rocking and rolling, Kyle Bradish has been a very good pitcher at the big league level, but I mean, he's only made 1 start this far this season. He gave up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. His strikeout stuff was really good, and you look at the small sample size that he had in 2024, he was getting 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. Down at the minor league level, when he was rehabbing, he had some struggles. He was posting up a 4.91 ERA, was getting whiffs, but was also giving up quite a few walks. Good news is he goes up against a Padres team that, even though they've been able to win the games that they've been able to win this far this season, it has been a lineup that has been in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Ramon Laureano, who ironically enough they pick up from the Orioles, has been able to supply 20 plus home runs. He's giving you over a 345 on base. Ryan O'Hearn is not necessarily supplying the deep ball, but he's been able to do a nice job hitting for about a 360 on base all season long. Gavin Sheets, Fernando Tatis Jr. between 17 to 18 home runs apiece. have been pretty rock solid, and both have been able to give you a 330 plus on base. Manny Machado has been leading the way with 21 home runs, hitting about a 285. So, you've got guys that are able to get on. Luis Arias is hitting about a 280. Jake Cronenworth 370 on base, but that power just has not really been there for the team. Jose Fermin has shored up the catcher spot. The big thing for the Padres is this bullpen has been rock solid. Number one in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Jeremiah Estrada has had a few issues recently, but you've got the likes of Wandy Peralta, Jason Adam, David Morgan, Audrey Motajon. These guys give you a sub 335 ERA. Mason Miller's down to about a 330 ERA after he had his struggles with the A's. Has been much better here with the San Diego Padres. And for the Orioles, you just don't have that level of bullpen pitching, as right now you've got the likes of Corbin Martin, Yunier Cano, Grant Wolfram posting up ERAs well above a 4. Felix Bautista being out for the year is hurtful for this team. Keegan Aiken has been a little bit up and down along Diedrich Ends as long guys. And for the Orioles, just not the same offense away from home rather than at home. Bottom 2 in the American League in terms of run production away from home. So have Jackson Alday give you 15 home runs, hitting about a 245. Gunnar Anderson a 350 on base with 16 home runs, but trading away the guys that they have to the San Diego Padres along Cedric Mullins really takes away a lot of power. You've got Jordan Westberg, who is supplying 15 home runs at a 275 average, currently on the injured list, and it just hasn't happened for someone like Jacoby Mayo. It's hitting less than a 265 in terms of his on base. It's been up and down for some of these young guys. So Dylan Beavers has been hitting well above a 300. He's been provided the team with like 5 home runs at his first 45 at bats. He's been great. Samuel Basallo finally got his first home run, but he's had some issues as well. And for the San Diego Padres, Dylan Cease has certainly had his issues. That's why it took him a little bit of time to confirm him as a starter, because for Dylan Cease, if you look at the advanced numbers, he's doing for a lot of positivity. 42 ERA, but a fielding dependent more on a 373. He has given up 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but the whiff rate is still there, 11.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 4+ runs allowed in each of his last 3 starts. I do think that Cease is going to be able to figure it out. So 7.5 or less, and on the over, 8 or higher to the under for the Padres. Plus 135 or better, looking at that run line / minus 153 or better, the money line. And for the Orioles, you need at least a plus 155 to take a shot on them. And wrap things up with 925, 926 on the card. It is the Walker Texas Rangers, and they're facing off against the Arizona Diamondbacks, as Ryan Nelson is on the bump for the Saints, and you've got Patrick Corbin going for the Texas Rangers. The Diamondbacks, sizable favorites here, anywhere between minus 142 to a minus 157, plus 128 to a plus 135 is that number on Texas, with 9.5 the total. Unders minus 120, and the over is even for the Diamondbacks. Set them at a minus 141, so I'm seeing that minus 142 out there. If we get to a minus 140, I would be willing to take a shot on the money line. And right now, if you're looking at that initial run line, that's a plus 134. I would need closer to about a plus 140 there, so a little bit of wait and see mode, but I do think that when it's all said and done, should be able to get the Diamondbacks more around about a minus 140, as Ryan Nelson has been very good and serviceable for the Diamondbacks team. 3.53 ERA, 0.9 home runs, 2.3 walks allowed per 9 innings. Not a strikeout artist, but he's getting up to about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for Patrick Corbin, it's been a little bit of a rough run for him. 3+ runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts, but much better this year than he has been in the past. 4.33 ERA. Fully recognize that ERA does go up a little bit on the road, as you're noticing that Texas is playing very pitcher-friendly this far this season, and he is backed up by a bullpen that is in the top 7 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. You have had a pair of guys in Phil Matone along Danny Kalum, not necessarily be amazing ever since they joined the team, but overall for the season, these guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. You've had Robert Garcia have some ups and downs recently, but they have been rock solid, with Cole Winn being able to give you some good innings out of the bullpen. They've had Shawn Armstrong, Hobie Milner be really nice long guys, and for Texas, even though they are dealing with quite a few ailments with regards to the lineup, they're still doing a nice job of being able to supply some average and being able to supply some boom line. Langford has been able to give you 19 plus home runs. He's given you about a 345 on base. Jock Peterson has been much better recently. He went deep yesterday, sitting below the mid-outside 200 overall for the season, but hey, you're at the very least getting a little bit more of something there. Josh Smith has done a nice job move line, hitting above a 250 for this team, so even though they are without some of these guys like a Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, they still have been able to give you some relatively effective production there, and this is a Diamondbacks bullpen that continues to be in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Though I will say, Andrew Selfrank has been able to give you a sub 225 ERA. I really like what I've seen there, but then you do have the issues there with Jake Woodford, along with someone like a Jalen Beeks, Kyle Bacchus, Bryce Jarvis. These guys posting up above a 4 ERA for the Arizona Diamondbacks, obviously, you trade away and Eugenio Suarez along Josh Naylor at the trade deadline, but now you're getting back Gabriel Moreno at the catcher spot is able to hit above a 275. You continue to get good on-base percentage out Geraldo Perdomo along with Ketel Marte, both above a 375 on base. Marte 23 home runs, so he slowed down a little bit with power numbers. Corbin Carroll's still been rock solid though, 28 home runs. He came off the injury list and was a little bit rough. He's starting to get back into good form as well, so you like to see that. Blaze Alexander has been a little bit up and down, so this is a very fascinating circumstance in my opinion. I did set my money line at a minus 141, so minus 140 or better. Looking at Arizona, I did set my tilt at 8.9, so you're at the 9.5. I'm in on the under end. That'll wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family podcast. A big thanks to William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment, idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larry ZM, maybe does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball regular season into the postseason, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.